You better get organized. Quick. This is a line that Jack Nicholson delivers to Matt Damon around 1/3 of the way into The Departed, and I think it's such a cheeky yet profound line. No matter what station of life you are in, you can always judge how well things are going by how organized you are. Think about it. How organized are you? How organized is your physical space? How organized are your digital files? How organized is your plan around your training? What does your fridge look like? What is going on in the contents of your mind? Is your mind organized? Have you meditated recently? Are things clear and in their place? Does every tool, like a handheld tripod, have a place and a location and a means and an end and a purpose? Is everything aligned in a forward direction? In this book that I read some time ago, years and years ago, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up, the author talks about how when people completely organized their homes, completely cleaned up their spaces, they ended up losing weight that they couldn't lose before. They ended up getting new jobs, getting a new opportunity. I have seen it across the board. At least I've noticed it as a trend. When people aren't organized, they tend to be fat. They tend to be overweight. Now, is it possible for an overweight person to be extremely organized? I think, yeah, theoretically, yes. But as someone who went through a substantial fat loss journey of my own, I can resoundingly tell you that in that era of my life when I was getting pretty solidly lean for the first time, my life was extremely organized. My home was very clean. My laundry was always done. It had to be. There wasn't a lot of room to mess around because it's so focus requiring to lose fat. You need to be tracking everything. You really need to be on top of things. Getting from like 30% down to 20%, maybe you can just attribute that to a diet change and exercise. But if you want to go from 20% down to 12, which is what I did in that season of my life, then you can't just eat healthy foods. You can't just exercise. You need to know when and how much you're exercising, and you need to know how many calories you're consuming. At least that's what makes it best. That's what makes it easiest. To know what everything is, to know how much you're spending and how much is coming in and what your credit card bills are and how much money you're spending every month in subscriptions. Everything needs to be organized. If I take a flight for an Ironman, technically that could be written off as a business expense because Sinbad Trains is connected to my business. Organization is very difficult. You have mail, you have dust on the ground. I know what I'm saying sounds a little bit trivial, but to get 100% organized, even as someone currently who has no dependents, it is an act of like 2 to 3 hours a day, 10 hours a week devoted to organization. Essentially, this is connected to your capacity to train, to do your life's work. You are most probably hindered by your ability to stay organized. Maxwell Maltz had written this book, Psycho-Cybernetics, in which he basically made an argument about self-concept, self-image. And he took the example of these people who had gotten plastic surgeries to make themselves more beautiful, and yet despite the surgery being done, their inner world didn't change. They still didn't feel attractive. It didn't have the effect that they thought it would. I find that many men who go through an era of fitness, or maybe you do go through a certain period of body transformation or image transformation, or even status transformation. Maybe you get a new job or you run into a new level of income or some sort of renown with the work you do. It takes a bit of time to realize that you are of that nature. You are of that character. But one thing that's definitely true of people whose status is low or whose self-image is not high is that their place is a mess. Their car is a mess. Disorganization is everywhere. And the people who do have a high self-concept, a great self-image, they tend to be very, very organized. A coaching client of mine and sort of like I would say a budding friend. He's someone who tests me and pushes me. His name's JD, and he runs this YouTube channel, Psychology of the Fight. It's an incredible channel. You should check it out. But he said this to me on a call the other day. He's like, your self-image is completely connected to how much you accept from your environment. And that was huge for me. Learning that lesson was profound. It comes down to even the gear you use. I used to accept a cheap wetsuit, a cheap $90 wetsuit off Amazon. It's a start for sure, but it wouldn't stick to my skin. It wasn't a high quality wetsuit. So eventually I invested in Roka's middle tier wetsuits. And then I went up to the highest ranking one, their best wetsuit. Why? Because, for someone who's determined to get very, very good at the Ironman 73, it makes sense to have the best possible wetsuit to do your best work. A wetsuit, the quality of the wetsuit has such an effect. Your ability to just recover from each stroke of the swim. You got to have that arm mobility. If you don't have that, then you're really not going to be able to do your best work. In a blog that I used to watch back in the day, the author of that blog, he would say the same thing. He said, be a pro from the get-go. Be a professional from the get-go. So many things in life are a lot easier when you're just pro from the get-go. When you dabble with a thing, you just put your feet in, you test it out. That's effectively when you're wasting your time. I was telling my girlfriend the other day, I've been joining her in some cold water immersion work, just like ice baths, saunas. It's something I don't really care about anymore. It's time consuming. It doesn't really interest me, the whole ice bath sauna thing. I'd gotten into it for a while, but now I'm forced to come back to it. And that's because the water at Indian Wells is going to be like 55, 56 degrees. Pretty damn cold. Most ice baths are between 50 and 60 degrees. So effectively, from what I hear, that lake swim is going to be between 50 and 60 degrees. It's going to feel like an ice bath the whole time. And it's even more intense than an ice bath because when you swim freestyle, your face is submerged in the water. So actually, even in an ice bath, it's usually only up to chest level where you're submerged in ice water. And it's still difficult, but that's actually easier than your face being fully submerged in the water. So you have to be able to test yourself in those conditions. You have to make sure you don't go into a state of shock because that can affect your swim tremendously. So I've been continuing my work with the swim, 2K, 2K, 2K. After my leg day, yesterday I hit legs. I forced myself, I've actually been sticking to the system, a 2,000 meter swim once again this morning. But on top of that, I've been working in the ice baths. But the thing that's been on my mind this week, as I've sort of locked in my modality with training, is my level of organization. I hold myself to a high standard, but I also hold my employees to the same standard that I'm sort of enacting right now. And I think that's often why my employees, they're not able to rise to the level that I want from them because I want them to get to the level that I'm at right now. But in order for them to respect me enough or to kind of fall into my frame, fall into my universe, I actually need to exceed who I am right now to a higher level, one tier above. That's a realization that I've come to recently. If I want my employees to be as good as I am now, then I need to be like 1 or 2 rungs ahead of them because only then will they feel compelled. That discrepancy will be too much for them to rise to the standard I'm at right now. So I've been focusing on organization tremendously, trying to stay on top of things. It's hard because I still have to stay on top of film production. I still have to stay on top of the YouTube videos, getting back to my coaching clients and doing all this work, maintaining my relationships, going hard, looking over the books, making sure everything is clean. But this is actually a place to test yourself. I really believe this. This is a vantage point in life to test yourself. Can you bring your external and inner organization up to 100%? It might take you like 20 hours of work to get to that mark. I'm talking about everything. Right now, I'm going to switch to in-camera audio for just a second. Right now, this coffee table has a broken leg. That is actually affecting my organization, just a touch. The fact that the coffee table isn't fixed, isn't perfect, is affecting my organization. It's dropping it down 1%, and I'm aware of it, and I know I have to deal with it as soon as possible. Same thing with so many other tiny things in my house. The fireplace back there, it isn't working. There's some sort of electrical thing I got to figure out. It's not much, but it's hurting me subtly. My SD cards, because we've been shooting so much, I finally went through and cleared all of my SD cards. But you know what? Even now I have to go back and figure out the audio files that go with the film and put the audio files in with their video footage in the right format. I forgot that we had some shoots that happened back to back so quickly that I didn't put the audio tracks with the video during film production. But even the fact that I cleared old cards and put them on these external hard drives has infused so much energy into my work. You sort of have to be worthy of the work you do. You sort of have to be almost worthy of the employees you get, how big your business gets. You need to be a master of everything yourself first before you have even the capacity to spend money like that. A coaching client of mine has a startup company. His whole thing with his YouTube channel and what he's working on is incredible. It's called The Startup Show. You should definitely check it out. But he was spending $5,000 a month. Artine, I hope you don't mind me saying, bro. He was spending like $5,000 a month on a videographer and editor service, a person with whom he would meet 3 times a week, and then they would edit a little bit of footage together. But the thing is, their skill set, even combined, was not high enough to have the right to spend that kind of money. Now, I've spent $5,000 a month on videographers. I think at our peak, we probably spent 6 or 7K per month on videographers for my main YouTube channel. And I had to be really on top of it to squeeze the most out of everyone. I knew that one of the videographers was incredible at drone photography and establishing shots. So I would put those kinds of shoots on him. The other person, he was really good at action. Someone else was really good at interpersonal drama and specifically creating mood boards. So I had to actually assign people to their own skill set and do their best work. But even that, just running a small little video agency with running 3 videographers, that alone was demanding the best of me. So To even expand past that, eventually I want to be a $1 million film director. I would have to expand my skill set so much to be able to manage a crew of 30 or 40. A director's job is to be so mentally organized that they can answer any question that anyone ever asks off of pure instinct. That's the goal you need to get to. That you have that primal instinct to solve any problem. Because a director never even has to pick up a camera himself. He simply needs to describe what he wants. The ultimate delegator, to describe the vision of what he wants when he's communicating to actors, describe the vision of what he wants the scene to be, and ask them questions to trigger their best work from themselves. And with the crew, describe to the director of photography, this is what I want from the sound, this is what I want from the scene. Yeah, maybe there should be a little bit of mist. The colors are rich. There's a lot of deep reds and oranges and greens, a lot of emerald tones. You need to be able to describe what you want on a moment's notice. And you need to also have the capacity for the technical skills. So if someone comes to you with a broken light, you know how to fix it. You know what to do because you've done it before. But you got to have that internal organization yourself to do anything you want. No matter what terrain of life you're in. I remember when I was a college student, in the era of where I was a college student, I mean, I had no income. I think I was making like $200 or $300 every 2 weeks, just doing a little bit of, like I worked in the cafeteria, serving people their food. I wasn't making much money, but in the seasons where I got the best grades, I did my best work, I was completely organized. My room was organized. I had supplements and they were lined up. My body composition was even at a certain level because I knew what meals I would eat, what supplements I would take. I was completely organized. Okay, for breakfast, I'm going to have 3 eggs. These simple things. Organization even comes down to knowing what you're going to do with your day specifically. Exactly what I'm going to do with my day. This is what the day is going to look like. In a previous video, I talked about attacking the work. Once you know what the work is, you attack it without questioning it. And then in another video, I talked about not strategizing. No more strategies. Once you make the plan is all it is. But actually the undercurrent to strategy and even attack is organization. You got to be so damn organized. With triathlon, organization makes a huge difference. The ones who get the best results in the races, they know what their nutrition is. They even know I'm going to wake up at 4 o'clock. I'm going to have 2 Go Gels, 2 scoops of G1M Sport, 1 scoop of G1M Sport Plus. This is my hydration mix. I'm going to get to the race event at 5 o'clock. Then I'm going to do my wetsuit test. To have a plan as specifically as possible, to know what you're going to do. As simple as your schedule is. You could be living in a remote part of Florida where there's nothing going on, but if you have a plan, you can make the most of that location. And consequently, I mean, I see rich people. I've worked with a ton of rich people. I see it all the time. Their capacity to invest in resources exceeds their mental organization around it. Get as organized as possible. It doesn't take any money to get organized. It just takes a tremendous amount of focus and effort and diligence and staying on top of it. It might be one of the more important things there is. Cleanliness is next to godliness. That's kind of like a slogan that we all grew up with. Well, my God, I would love to be next to godliness, to live well, to live truly, to live correct. Get as organized as possible. Get as clean as possible. Digital environment, your physical environment, and even your mental space, which it does take effort to keep your mental world organized. It's perhaps one of the more important things there is. If your world is completely organized, you are immediately elevated. You are dramatically elevated. It'll show up on your skin. It'll show up on how your hair looks, how well you're dressed, how things look around the house, how easily you're able to breathe in your home because there isn't dust everywhere. These things sound trivial, but they're not. They're not at all. That's the topic for this week. That's what I've ultimately arrived at, is if you can get extremely organized. It may take 15 hours of effort collectively to literally mop your floors and to clear digital files and to close open loops and to get the coffee table leg fixed, whatever it might be. It may take 15 to 20 hours. But I promise you, if you went to a place where you got your organization to like 100%, like you're beyond organized, you are completely organized, immediately, it's like the brakes would fall off. You would get to your goals in life so much faster, whether it's training for a triathlon or otherwise. Get yourself organized and see what happens. We'll catch you next time.